Hello, today I'm back with the album ranking. This time we'll be doing a ranking for Shadows Fall, a band that I am fairly new to. I only became a fan earlier this year. For whatever reason, it took me a long time to get around to checking out this band's discography, but yeah, before getting into them, I knew a couple songs. Of course, I knew Redemption and maybe one or two other songs, but for whatever reason, I never got around to looking into their music until this year. But either way, glad I finally got into Shadows Fall. Pretty good band. Definitely a band that definitely would have been up my alley when I was younger, especially in middle school. But for whatever reason, I didn't know much about them until years later. But yeah, one of the OGs of metalcore. But yeah, we'll be going from worst to best. Keep in mind, that's just my personal ranking. You don't have to agree with it, but feel free to let me know your ranking in the comment section below. But at the bottom, this is a pretty easy choice for me. It is their debut album, Somber Eyes to the Sky, their only album with Phil on vocals, who of course would go on to be with All That Remains, and All That Remains, another great band. So with this album, it's an alright listen, but for me, it's easily their weakest. With this album, you can definitely tell they're still trying to find themselves a bit. Pure is probably my favorite song on the album, but you do have some other moments. I do like Fleshhold, and I do dig the melody and Lead Me Home, but yeah, this is the album that I reach for last whenever I'm in the mood for Shadows Fall. I mean, again, it's an alright listen, but for me, again, easily their weakest. The next we'll be moving to their second album, Of One Blood, which sees the band introduce Brian on vocals, and yeah, I'd say a step up from Somber Eyes to the Sky, but not by a lot either though. It's also, just like with the last time, I think this album is also just alright. The title track is probably my favorite song on the album. Track number 2, Crushing Belial, if I pronounced that correctly. That's another standout in the album for me. But yeah, not really an album that has the strongest replay, not really an album that has strong replay value for me personally. But yeah, there's some good stuff on it, but for me, easily one of their weaker albums though. I think they would go on to do even better. But next in my ranking, we'll be moving to their album Retribution. Solid album, but my issue with this album is that I feel like it doesn't have as many memorable songs as the albums that are above it, at least in my opinion. With that said, again, I do think it is a solid album. Some standouts for me: My Demise, which that song is definitely a banger. Still I Rise is probably one of their best singles, I'd say, and definitely one of the best songs on the album too. You have a pretty solid anthemic chorus in that song, and King of Nothing is another standout too. Dead and Gone, I think, is maybe one of their best album closers. But yeah, again, solid album, but for me, I think they've done better though. But next we're moving to this album right here, Threads of Life. And this is definitely the band at their most accessible, and of course it has one of their biggest songs, or maybe their biggest song, and that song is the album opener, Redemption, which I'll admit, I do think it is one of their best songs. It's definitely one of their big anthems, and for good reason. It was produced by Nick Raskulinecz, great producer who's worked with many bands that I enjoy. I know he did an album with Rush, he also did an album with Trivium, and I know he's worked with many other bands that I enjoy too, but yeah, Threads of Life, good album. I do think with this album, I think the first half is the stronger half of the two halves. The second half I feel is not quite as strong, but the second half, of course, does have its moments, like Final Call and Forevermore. Forevermore would probably be my favorite when it comes to the second half. But yeah, Redemption, of course, one of the best songs on here, but you have other really great songs on here, like Burning the Lives and Failure of the Devout, which is probably one of the heaviest songs on the album. Definitely a standout for sure. And I do like Another Hero Lost too. But yeah, solid album. Good Shadows Fall album. This album lands more closer to the middle of the ranking for me. The next in my ranking, an album that I feel is somewhat kind of underrated, and that album is Fire from the Sky. And this is their most recent album. Hopefully we get a new album soon. And I know I am aware of the two singles, In the Gray and Souls Devoured. Souls Devoured being the one that I like more of the two. But yeah, either way, hopefully we get some new Shadows Fall soon. But yeah, Fire from the Sky, to me, Actually, pretty good album. This lands on the number 3 spot. Yeah, of course, the big song on here is The Unknown, but you have other really great songs on here like Divide and Conquer and Nothing Remains. I think the clean vocals are really great in this song, in this album. That for me, that's one of the standouts. Matt's vocals, but yeah, Save Your Soul, another standout. I really like The Wasteland, kind of an underrated song off of here. But yeah, to me, actually one of the band's best. I'm not sure how other fans feel about this album, if it's one of their weaker ones or one of their best, but for me, to me, it's in the top 3. But now we're moving to my number 2 with The Art of Balance. This is the album that to me where the band really came together, where things really came together for them. I mean, of course, Of One Blood and the Somber Eyes, they do have their moments, but this is the album that to me they really got it together. They really nailed it, I guess you could say. Things really came together, however you want to put it. But yeah, for me, easily one of their best, and definitely maybe one of the best metalcore albums of the 2000s, I'd say. I think this is a pretty strong album. Of course, Thoughts Without Words and Destroyer of Senses are some of the fan favorites off of here, but you have other really great songs like The Idiot Box. I really like that song a lot. That's probably one of my favorite Shadows Fall songs. I love Idle Hands. That's another standout, and to me, one of their best album openers. I even like their cover of Welcome to the Machine. To me, that's a pretty good cover. And Stepping Outside the Circle, that song is definitely a banger for sure. But yeah, really great album. And at the top, and I'm sure this is at the top for many people, and that album is The War Within. Definitely one of the best metalcore albums out there for sure, in my opinion. Especially when it comes to 2000s metalcore. I mean, when it comes to a front to back album listen, I think this album is easily their best. You have some of their biggest songs on here, of course, like The Light That Blinds and What Drives the Weak and Inspiration on Demand. You have some great deep cuts on here too, like Act of Contrition and Ghosts of Past Failures. That song being probably one of my favorite Shadows Fall songs. Enlightened by the Cold for me, another standout. I mean, really, you get the combo of the clean vocals and the screaming or growls. I think is really well executed in this album, especially. But yeah, The War Within definitely has to be at the top for me. This is my number 1 when it comes to Shadows Fall. But yeah, that is my ranking of the Shadows Fall discography. Let me know your thoughts on my ranking in the comment section below. And also, of course, let me know your ranking of the Shadows Fall albums in the comment section below. And all the good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like. Subscribe. Have a nice day and take care.